we have covered the Pakistan briefing inside of things. And now we're going to talk about what India has said has happened. Doug, roll the tape.
If I get it right, you want to know how many of their planes we have downed?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
See, as I said, their planes were prevented from coming inside our border. All right. So we do not have the wreckage with us, but definitely we have downed a few planes. Numbers, we would not like to hazard a guess out here. Okay. I have the numbers, okay, and we are getting into the technical details of it to establish it. So I would not like to put a figure at this time, but definitely there are losses from their side which we have inflicted.
Were they fourth generation plus, sir?
See, you're putting words into my mouth. Why do you say fourth generation? Let us make it high tech.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, 163.
High tech. 163. I don't know what that means. So there's another video, like a 7-hour video, which we're not going to watch. We don't have that kind of time. But they talk about the actual strikes in the Pakistan. But this part was interesting to me because it's a little bit confrontational. And it contrasts with the Pakistan briefing, which I guess I get it. It's different. We're talking different contexts, right? Because you have one where it's a very refined, well-spoken Pakistani official, military member, Air Force member that has flown, and he is speaking in tactics and saying, here's what we did. And it's funny, people make fun of him because he's talking about center of gravity. Dude, that is straight out of ACSC, Air Command and Staff College. That is taught in joint warfare planning in the United States. Like that kind of stuff is taught. Some of the stuff, though, we looked at, when we're like, okay, maybe, it's hard to confirm. No side has confirmed kills. And then you get this question, and it's kind of the same thing, right? It's the Pakistani presentation was a lot more refined. This was more like he got caught off guard, and then, I have an answer, but I don't have an answer, but I don't know, but I do know, but you don't need to know, so don't ask me these questions. And it was that struck me as a little confrontational. And one of the things he said that contrasts with what the other side, the Pakistani side, had said was, we kept them from coming to our side. But if you watch the Pakistani official, he's like, we weren't trying to go to his side. We were trying to keep them from our side. So it's very clear that they're both in a standoff posture, that they're taking pot shots across, not to cross borders. So I think still it is very hard to confirm kills other than they've shown some satellite evidence of bases and, other stuff. And there's been, some stuff on social media, but no one has confirmed anything. And one thing somebody pointed out that I thought was interesting too, Martin Baker always comes out with, hey, this number of lives saved. They have not. And that doesn't mean it's happened. It doesn't mean it doesn't. It's just, that's one more piece of evidence that you're like, hey, we're not getting, there's a big disinformation warfare going on from both sides. And I understand why, because when you're in negotiations, you're not going to be like, yeah, we got our asses kicked. Sure. Everybody's going to, Baghdad Bob, remember him? He was saying that they weren't at the gates until, we were rolling down the streets. So that's part of warfare. I don't think anybody would outright say, but to me, it's a bit interesting that, the contrast in the two briefings. Gonky, what do you think?
Yeah, the one that we watched, I think it was the last week before, the Pakistani one. That was definitely that was a brief. This, with the Indian leadership, it was more of a press conference type.
Right, Q&A.
Yeah, like a little more conversational. Whereas, the Pakistani one, he came in with a briefcase, talking points, like all doped out.
And there may be a version of that, like that's why I said there's context, right? Because we picked this because he talked about the kills, but there may be another video. I have not found the equivalent video.
I looked for the equivalent video, and it either it probably exists behind closed doors, you know, on the Indian side, but they have not put anything out to the public. So this is all we have to go on. And like you said, it was a little confrontational just because the reporter asking questions is just trying to kind of like everybody's trying to get the truth out. And you know, he was very, like you said, it almost felt like he wasn't quite ready for the questions. Although if you're somebody in his position going to a press conference like that, I would be prepared for it. I like to think I would be prepared for a question like that. Yeah, both sides are taking a very DCA-ish mindset, it looks like, with their with what they're doing. You know, he said they shot down airplanes, but they can't get them because they're on the Pakistani side of the border, right? So, yeah, man, I tell you what, I did a lot of searching today, and there's just it's just still so hard to find
Valid sources.
Yeah, valid
Yeah.
sources and things that kind of make sense, because, like, you know, what is high tech? You know, the guy just asked him a simple question. You know, 4th gen airplanes. Like, what are we talking about here?
Probably J10. I mean, if I had to guess, you're starting to, you know, you're talking J10 PL15 like that. To me, you know, that's the Gen 4 plus, you know, kind of stuff versus,
right,
you know, an old school, you know,
right. But you know, and you talked about it as far as, you know, trying to negotiate their way out of this instead of fighting, which is what they should do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to keep things vague. I mean, you don't want to be beating your chest too hard, because that's offensive to the other side, right? So you're just trying to, you know, cooling type language, right? So I don't know, man. Maybe the truth will make its way out there, but it's not. I have not found it on the interwebs.
Yeah. Wombat, what do you think?
I think this just speaks to the culture of the two countries a little bit more, and again, like you said about the negotiations, it's just more so kind of how they are, where it's like they are trying to negotiate this, from my understanding, but they're also going to show that they can defend themselves. They're not pushovers, but they're, unlike other conflicts recently that have been going on for a while that get a lot of news, those two countries are doing the opposite, where it's very much the chest bumping, like, look what we're doing. So it's just different cultures of different countries handling a conflict a completely different way. So I think that's why I think they're probably putting a lot of effort in. At first, I would say like misinformation, but I think it's actually trying to keep things under wraps to be able to come to a conclusion quicker, and not have something come out that they regret long term.
And this is not something like, you know, like you're talking about. It's not specific to this region, right? It's not Pakistan and India are the only ones that would do this. The United States has done this, you know, in press conferences. We have done, either we are vague and don't want to answer something, we get dodgy because maybe we're not prepared, or maybe we don't know, or maybe we know and you shouldn't know.
Correct.
Or we outright have said the wrong thing, and later it comes out that no, that wasn't true, you know, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So that's not specific to them. And I think it may be a little unfair in the apples to oranges comparison, like you talked about, Gonky, where it's, you know, you've got one that's coming in with a brief, and he's going to tell you, you know, he's telling a bunch of reporters. Now, they probably weren't even allowed to ask questions too. Like this might have been an open forum where it's like, hey guys, ask some questions. And it's the hostile, you know, White House press briefing style that we're used to here. Yeah. I will say that I hope peace prevails, and that, you know, that the terror attack that kicked this off was pretty, you know, horrific. You know, that's not nobody should condone that. The people that did it should be held responsible, but I hope that a larger war between two nuclear powers that are neighbors is not the direction we're headed, you know, long term. So that's just me.